I'm Evelyn Thornton. I was born here in Houston, Texas in 1926. I was, of course, reared in the Baptist church, very strict Baptist church, no dancing, no card playing, which meant that as I grew older, I was somewhat eager to leave the Baptist church. I married a wonderful Catholic man in 1945. I did not choose to become a Catholic, and he didn't choose to become Baptist. So we found the Episcopal Church to be a good bridge church. He could have the ceremonial aspect of worship that he liked. So it worked out fine for both of us. I can't recall that I've had anything really exciting to go on in my life. I came to the Episcopal Church in 1950, and I was a member of St. Luke's at that time. And Father Keith Barden contacted Goldie Hartshorn, who was the counselor at Jack Yates, and told her that St. James was ready to welcome black members, and he wanted to have a group of us meet with him so that he could give us a formal invitation to come over and join. So I came with Goldie that night, and most of the elderly people at St. Luke's came. Dr. and Mrs. Ford, the Rowitts. I think I'm the only member of that group still living. I think that's right. Anyway, I transferred from St. Luke's in 1959. We were very cordially received. Those people who did not choose to integrate had already moved on to St. Martin's, I think they went. But those who stayed did everything to make us feel wanted and comfortable. And I have been a member of St. James ever since 1959. And it's been a wonderful experience. Well, of course, it was a totally different experience, because in the Baptist church, there was a lot of interaction between the congregation and the preacher. He would hit the high notes, which called for a church response, and he usually got what he was looking for at that point. But here it was more a ritualistic kind of liturgical kind of worship. I always sort of felt that a worship should be more internal than a lot of screaming, shouting, and that kind of thing. So it was an easy transition for me. It's more casual now. I think we call it the difference between high church and low church. And when I first came to the Episcopal Church, we did what we called high church. But now we are in what we would have called low church, but I'm very comfortable with low church. I often compared my experience with getting old, and a very dear friend of mine who's getting old, and she's a miserable, unhappy, always ill person because she's never had a true church affiliation. Now, she did all of the opera and all of the social things, but her life at this point is very empty, and she's a very unhappy person. And I've always credited the fact that I've been able to do what people call grow old gracefully to my affiliation with the church. I'm not very good at lecturing other people, but all I could say is that the walk has been meaningful to me. I wouldn't have done it any other way. And I rejoice in seeing younger people around the church coming along in that same tradition.